Welcome to Milo's Mods, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give you the differences between the hardware kit from Captain Slug on his talonclaw U series and the hardware kit from Frontline Foam for the same blaster. This hardware is not identical. I'm going to point out the differences on first the base hardware and then on the upgrades and some of the workarounds I have found. Okay, the front one, this one here, this is one that was Captain Slug's hardware. His U channels, his priming bars, everything. The only difference is, of course, the metal trigger, the sear. Those parts are compatible between both hardware kits. But that's pretty much about where it ends. Okay. It's right on it's flush on the end of my table here. If you look, you'll see the differences right there. That's about 24 inches, ladies and gentlemen, from tip to tip on the one from Frontline. On the one from Slug, I would say it's about 23 inches. That being said, the U channels from Frontline are longer, so are the priming bars. That is not the only difference. This is the priming bars from Frontline. Yes, this is the spare set I have. The ones from Captain Slug's, the holes are actually drilled right about there where my thumb is. The ones from Frontline are much closer. So, with that being said, when you install the RAM, like a Frontline machined RAM, you have to modify the priming bars from Captain Slug to fit it because they won't fit. Easiest way to do it is to trim a little bit off and make it shorter so it will line up. If you try to put Slug's priming bars, if you try to put Frontline's priming bars onto Captain Slug's blaster, it's too long and it won't fit together at all. There's other differences as well. This is a piece of railgasm from Captain Slug. The way railgasm works is it's two long pieces of 3D printed material and one short. Okay? As you can tell, I don't know how well you can see that, but you see how it matches up perfectly. Right? You see the difference? It's longer. The one from Frontline is longer. That's one difference. And it still doesn't fit all the way perfectly. That's really great. But it is what it is. The catch and trigger, they are compatible. Absolutely. The nuts and bolts are compatible. Yes. The U channels and the priming bars are not cross-compatible. You cannot use Frontline's priming bars with Slug's U channels. They will not go. I've tried. Believe me. As far as the machined RAM, if you choose to buy an upgraded RAM from Frontline you're using Slug's priming bars, you're going to have to modify them to fit. The easiest way I did it was I used a pair of bolt cutters, believe it or not. And they fit after the first cut. Thank God. But the main difference is the U channel and the priming bars. There's another subtle difference too. This is the upgraded plunger head from Frontline Foam. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is what this is. Now, when you put an upgraded RAM from Frontline into one of Slug's blasters, it will not take this at all. It's too long and it won't catch. So what I had to do was I had to use a 3D printed plunger head from Slug to get it to fit. It's a lot of differences, trust me. Seriously though, this is something that should have never happened. It happened. The main reason why it happened is because of these rails here, the priming bars. They're using a V4 jig instead of a V3. That's one of the main differences. But when they did that, they had to basically make the whole blaster longer And that's where a lot of confusion happened. A lot of people are running into problems with this. The barrels are interchangeable. These are both 12-inch barrels from Slug, believe it or not, and they fit. Actually, this one's got a 12-inch barrel from Frontline. This one's got a 12-inch barrel from Slug, so they fit. Trust me. There's several differences to these blasters. If I had to pick my personal favorite between a Frontline build and one from Slug to put together myself, I would choose a Slug blaster any day of the week. It's much easier to deal with. You won't have an extra gap like you do here, which drives me crazy, believe it or not. You know, it kind of really is like comparing apples to oranges. When you buy a blaster kit from Captain Slug, it comes complete. You can assemble it, you're good to go. You buy a blaster kit from Frontline Foam, you can assemble it, you're good to go. Okay? The problem comes down to when you go to interchange parts. These priming bars are not compatible with these U-channels. Big difference. The machined RAM that you get from Frontline, which cost about $40, by the way. I trashed one of them, trying to make one fit originally. But I had like 3 of them, so I was okay with that. Still, $40 is $40. In order to get the machined RAM to fit, you have to actually trim down Captain Slug's U-channels to make them fit. You know, which I'm sure is not a good thing, but it is what it is. But the trigger and the sear are interchangeable between both models. This one has a 3D printed trigger and sear. The reason being is I basically put this one together out of spare parts. This blaster right here is going to a contest for when a friend of mine, his Nerf group, reaches 1,000 members. The name of the group is Nerfed Up. I'm putting this video out here today so that way people understand the true differences between the hardware. If you're going to buy a Frontline hardware kit and thinking you're going to be good and use Slug's prints, it's not going to happen. The RAM base is also different as well. Okay? Slug's RAM base and Frontline's RAM base, they are not compatible with each other. No, 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 no. Okay, it's the RAM base, the U-channels, and the priming bars are not compatible. The railgasm is not compatible. Okay? The plunger head. If you put this in a Slug blaster with a modified RAM base, it won't fit. It will not fit. This is about $20 down the drain. Right here. Garbage. Not very cool. But it is what it is. I'm putting this video out here today so that way people understand the differences between buying parts from one person and printing them yourself without using their files or whatever. If you buy hardware from Slug, use his print files. Save yourself the headache and the aggravation. If you buy a hardware kit from Frontline, use their files. It'll save you the headache and aggravation. I had to deal with this headache and aggravation. I've built 5 or 6 of these blasters now for customers. I have 3 sitting upstairs still that are ready to go to be shipped out. But I figured I would let you guys know the differences. Again, it's the length of the U-channels. The priming bars are different and they are not interchangeable. It's also the RAM base on both of them are not interchangeable unless you modify Slug's priming bars. Then they fit. The plunger heads, that's a totally different nightmare. But again, you guys will figure it out. The railgasm is not interchangeable between that blaster and that blaster because I originally bought this railgasm for that blaster. This is my personal talonclaw. I bought this railgasm and it wouldn't fit. And I couldn't figure out why. And then I started looking at the pieces and I figured it out. I'm like, this is interesting. So I messaged Captain Slug. He was able to hook me up nice, like he always does. The man, I'll give a great shout out to him. Captain Slug is the man. If you need parts for a blaster that he makes, go see him. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the headache of dealing with parts that don't fit. If you need a blaster done, go see the damn creator. It's the best thing I can tell you to do, ladies and gentlemen. Again, this is Miller's Mods signing off.